The river flowed silently. It mirrored the quaint houses and lush gardens of Riverside. But on this day, a shadow fell upon the town. It started with a scream. Then, the news spread like wildfire. Henry Morton was dead. Henry was the richest man in Riverside. He lived in a grand mansion overlooking the river. Now that mansion became a crime scene. The air, once fresh and sweet, now carried a chill. It was the chill of death.
Detective Sarah Johnson arrived. Her eyes, sharp and observant, scanned the scene. A seasoned detective, she had seen her share of tragedies. But something about this case felt different. Was it the stillness of the river, or the secrets hidden behind the mansion walls? 3 suspects emerged. Margaret Morton, Henry's beautiful wife, Alex Johnson, his trusted assistant, and Lily Cooper, the enigmatic neighbour. Each had secrets, each had motives, but who among them was capable of murder?
The town buzzed with rumors. Whispers followed Margaret, her face pale with grief. Alex, usually calm and collected, seemed agitated, and Lily, known for her solitary nature, now found herself at the center of attention. Detective Johnson listened. She observed. Everyone in Riverside had something to say about Henry Morton. He was a man of power, of influence, but also a man of secrets. And his secrets, it seemed, had come back to haunt him.
Margaret, draped in black, spoke in a low voice. She claimed she was out, attending a charity event when Henry was murdered. Her alibi checked out. But something in her eyes, a flicker of something unreadable, troubled Detective Johnson. Was it grief, or was it something more sinister? The mansion itself held clues. Henry's study was in disarray, papers scattered everywhere. It seemed like he had been interrupted, surprised. The murder had been unplanned, a crime of passion. But whose passion?
Section 5, The Assistant's Story. This is a tale of intrigue, mystery, and the shadows that lurk behind the facade of everyday life. Alex Johnson, his face pale and drawn, offered his own account. His eyes, usually so full of life, were now clouded with worry and fear.
I had been working late, as I often do. The deadlines were looming and the pressure was immense. In my own office across the river, the night was quiet, the city lights reflecting off the water, creating a serene yet eerie atmosphere. I saw Henry earlier that evening. We had a brief conversation about the upcoming project. He seemed fine, just a bit tired. But I left around dinner time. I remember looking back at the office building, the lights still on in Henry's office.
His alibi too seemed solid. He had no reason to lie, or so it appeared. Yet, Detective Johnson noticed the tremor in his hands, a subtle sign of anxiety that couldn't be ignored. The way his eyes darted around the room, as if searching for an escape or hiding something.
I am devastated by Henry's death. He was not just a colleague, but a friend. This loss is unbearable.
But was it guilt that gnawed at him? The detective couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Alex's story. The truth, Detective Johnson knew, lay buried beneath layers of deception. He had to peel back each layer, carefully and methodically, to uncover the real story. The case was far from closed, and the shadows of doubt loomed large over Alex Johnson. The investigation continued, with every new piece of evidence adding to the puzzle. Each witness had their own version of events, but none seemed to fit perfectly. Who was Henry, really? And what secrets did he take to his grave? The answers were out there, somewhere, waiting to be discovered. As Detective Johnson delved deeper into the case, he realized that the truth was more elusive than he had ever imagined, but he was determined to find it, no matter the cost. Section 6, Lily's Anguish. Lily Cooper, her eyes red-rimmed, spoke of her friendship with Henry.
We had been close, but our relationship was complicated. I last saw him the day before, during our usual afternoon walk along the river.
Lily's grief seemed genuine, her pain palpable, but something didn't quite add up.
Why am I so reluctant to speak about the nature of our relationship?
What was she hiding? Detective Johnson sensed a storm brewing beneath the surface. Section 7, The Missing Weapon. Days turned into nights. The murder weapon, presumed to be a knife, remained missing. The investigation hit a wall. The town held its breath. The shadow of suspicion loomed large, threatening to engulf them all. Then came a breakthrough. A note, discovered tucked away in Henry's study. The handwriting was elegant, almost feminine. It read, "I had to do it. He left me no choice." Was this a confession, or a cruel attempt to mislead? Section 8. The Whisper in the Walls. The note changed everything. The handwriting didn't match any of the suspects.
I returned to the mansion, drawn back to its silent walls. There was something missing, something overlooked.
It was during a late-night review of the case files that she noticed it, a discrepancy in Lily's statement. Lily had mentioned a particular song playing on Henry's gramophone during their last meeting, but the gramophone, according to the forensic report, hadn't been used in weeks. Section 9. The Truth Revealed. Detective Johnson returned to Lily's house. The air was thick with tension, and the weight of unanswered questions hung heavily over the scene. This time her questions were sharper, her gaze unwavering. She knew that the truth was within reach, and she wasn't going to let it slip away.
I lied about the gramophone. I thought it would protect me, but now I see it only made things worse. I was with Henry the night he died, but I didn't kill him. We argued, yes, but I left before anything happened, I swear.
Lily confessed that she had lied. Her tears flowed freely now, a mix of relief and fear. She had been carrying this burden for too long. She revealed a secret. Henry had been paranoid. He was convinced that everyone around him was plotting against him, and it drove him to extreme measures. He had installed recording devices throughout the mansion, convinced people were plotting against him. Every room, every corner was under surveillance.
Let me show you. There's a hidden panel in Henry's study. He thought it was the only way to protect himself.
Behind it, a small, unassuming recorder. It looked ordinary, but it held the key to understanding Henry's final days. And on that recorder, the chilling truth. The audio revealed Henry's descent into paranoia, his desperate attempts to uncover imagined plots, and ultimately, the events leading to his tragic end. Detective Johnson listened intently, piecing together the fragments of Henry's life. The recordings painted a picture of a man consumed by fear and suspicion. She took meticulous notes, knowing that every detail was crucial. The truth was finally coming to light, and it was more complex than anyone had imagined. With a renewed sense of determination, Detective Johnson vowed to uncover the full story. The truth was out there, and she was closer than ever to finding it. As she left Lily's house, the weight of the case felt lighter. The path to justice was clearer now, and she was ready to follow it to the end. Section 10. A Web of Deceit. In the heart of the city, where shadows lurk in every corner, a complex web of deceit was slowly unraveling. The detective, with a keen eye for detail, meticulously examined the evidence board, piecing together the fragments of a sinister puzzle. Each photograph, each note, each string connecting the dots told a story of betrayal and greed. The recording revealed a heated argument between Henry and Alex. Their voices, filled with anger and frustration, echoed through the dimly lit room. Henry, the once trusted business partner, confronted Alex about discrepancies in the financial records. The tension was palpable, the air thick with accusations and denials. It exposed a long-standing grudge, a financial betrayal that Alex had kept hidden. For years, Alex had been siphoning funds, altering records to cover his tracks. His actions were driven by a deep-seated resentment and an insatiable greed. The evidence was damning, each altered document a testament to his deceit. The recording ended with a struggle, a muffled cry, and then silence. The confrontation had escalated, leading to a physical altercation. The muffled cry was the last sound captured, a haunting reminder of the violence that had ensued. The silence that followed was deafening, leaving a void filled with unanswered questions. Alex, the trusted assistant, had been living a lie. To the outside world, he was a loyal and dedicated colleague, but beneath the facade, he harbored dark secrets. His guilt was evident, his every action now under scrutiny. The colleagues who once trusted him now looked at him with suspicion, their faith shattered. He had manipulated everyone, playing the role of the grieving friend while harboring dark secrets. At the funeral, he wore a mask of sorrow, his expression a perfect imitation of grief. But behind the mask, his eyes betrayed a sinister intent. He had orchestrated the events, pulling the strings from the shadows. His motive greed, pure and simple. The allure of wealth had driven him to betray those who trusted him. Each stack of cash, each financial document was a symbol of his treachery. His actions were calculated, each move designed to amass more wealth regardless of the cost. The note, it turned out, was planted, an attempt to throw off the investigation. The detective, however, saw through the ruse. The note was a clever distraction, meant to mislead and confuse. But the truth, like water, always finds a way to surface. The incriminating evidence was discovered, and the web of deceit began to unravel piece by piece. Section 11. Justice in Riverside. Alex Johnson was arrested. The truth, like the river, had a way of revealing itself.
As the sun set on Riverside, casting long shadows across the water, I felt a sense of closure. Justice had been served.
But the case left its mark. It was a reminder that behind the idyllic facade, darkness could lurk. And sometimes the most unassuming individuals harbor the darkest secrets. The river flowed on, silent and watchful, carrying the secrets of Riverside.